Okay, I think, yeah, I do have my audio working fine this morning. All right, great. Good morning, everyone. I don't know if Ramen got her new mic in or not. I I hope she did and that she's just late coming to the stream because I'll be honest, I didn't get her out the link until about 8 minutes ago. So she may not have been sitting there breathlessly drawn, waiting for me to get her the link. But I got hungry and decided that I needed a little bit of breakfast this morning. So I grabbed some leftover ham out of the refrigerator and warmed it up with a couple of eggs, some cheese, threw it in a tortilla, and then browned up the tortilla in a skillet. And that was good. Now, start this off with some news about the today going into the next 2 weeks. For what it's worth, the wife will be home starting today for the next 2 weeks because she's got PTO time that she's got to use or lose. And she had it set up to where she thought she only needed to take a week off plus a day here and there to get it down. And her boss called her up and asked her about it. And she forgot something in her calculations, which we all would have done. She forgot that even while she's on vacation, she's still earning vacation time. So she has to take an extra week. Now she's in the kitchen right now making up some sort of a salad that she asked me to make a week ago, and I used the ingredients for other stuff. Just the meal didn't get the. When I make up the menus, they're more of a suggestion of what we're going to eat that week than it is a hard and fast rule because things happen. This is something she asked me 2 weeks ago to make, and I used several of the ingredients for other things. So she went and restocked those ingredients, and she's in the kitchen making it now. Oh, she's done making it. So now I did ask her though. She's got this cucumber salad that she makes. So I did ask her to make that up for one day here in the next week or so because it's actually rather good. And with it starting to get warm, I plan on doing less cooking and eating more cold meals, salads, that kind of stuff. Um, so it's all good. Uh, and it'll help me shed a little bit of weight since I'm not cooking as much. Because if I'm not cooking as much, I'm not making as much pastas and breads and such, which makes her happy because I'm not making as much pastas and breads and such. She accuses me of wanting to make her fat. So, but anyway, I know, no, I know. We normally don't talk politics and things in the news on Fridays because the weekend is drawing close. And I promise you, it's not going to be all about politics. But I'm going to start the day off here with a little bit of politics. The first thing, the 500-pound bear in the room, the Elon Musk, Donald Trump fight, squabble that's going on. I've been hearing and I've been listening to a lot of people analyze this. And by the looks of it, it may have started Elon started getting a little ticked off when the Democrats started um, drawing lawsuits every time his Doge team made recommendations. And it looked like those recommendations were going to be put into effect. The Democrats started using taxpayer money to bring lawsuits against the administration for wanting to save taxpayer money. Make that make sense. But that's what they're doing. That's what they've done. And that started where, plus, then the Democrats started endorsing all the attacks on Elon's companies, mostly against Tesla, but his other companies also. Now, when you're the richest man in the world, a few $1,000,000 here and there is not going to bother you that much. I mean, look how much he gives each one of his baby mamas just to get him to shut up and leave him alone. But when when it starts going into his customer base and damaging his customers' property because of his name being attached to the company, to the product that they bought, and it's been going on for months. That I don't care who you are, that's going to start getting on your brain. And then, of course, the lawsuits. And then stupid companies like MSNBC sitting out there and saying, and why did Elon Musk fail so miserably? Well, he had a personal goal of cutting $2 trillion of deficit spending. That was his goal, to cut $2 trillion. Thanks to all the interference ran by the Democrats, he was only able to identify $800 billion worth of him and the Doge team were only able to identify about $800 billion in wasteful spending. But the Democrats filed lawsuits against damn near every one of these cuts. Now, a few of them, they didn't file lawsuits against. I think like 11 of them, the Democrats didn't file lawsuits against. And about 70 of them, the judges threw the lawsuits out. But that only come up to like $200 billion. That means there's another $600 billion in wasteful spending. At least spending that most definitely I would consider wasteful spending. Sitting out there that the Democrats are fighting to keep in place. When we've got a $37 trillion deficit, and a lot of that deficit being owed by the Chinese. Hey, morning, Data. Sorry I didn't see you come in. It'd help if I got the screen set up right. Well, then, Musk was always. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the not so political stuff here, but There's a few things that's happened this week that I've got to talk about them now because by Monday I'm not going to be talk. It's chances are good. A bunch of other stuff's going to pop up. So I've got the other stuff, plenty of that stuff lined up. Then Elon went and dropped that bombshell about Trump's name being in the Epstein files. Now we know from public records that Trump cut off all ties with Epstein, at least publicly, over a decade ago. Well over a decade ago, even banned him from Mar-a-Lago. So if Trump's name is in the Epstein files, now remember here, the Democrats have had control of the Epstein files up until 4 months ago, up until January 20th, but 4.5 months ago, just short of 4.5 months. The Democrats had control of those Epstein files. They had control of the Epstein files during the election process. If Trump's name is actually in the Epstein files, don't you think Democrats, the FBI, Comer, don't you think they would have leaked his name out? Don't you think they would have leaked that out to destroy Trump's chances of being elected president? And especially after Joe dropped out and it was Kamala. Don't you think that they would have dropped his name? Hey, morning, Digi. That they would have leaked that out there that Trump's name was in those to hurt him? Because I'm, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? And I've never been anything else but if Trump's name is legitimately in the Epstein files and it's tied to the things that we all suspect that Epstein had going on with underage young ladies and men, underage children. And if Trump's name is tied to that, all right, it's wood chipper time. If it's legitimately there. My gut feeling right now is that it's not. However, I'm hearing some people, and it's feasible that this whole thing, remember, Musk was never a permanent employee. He was only a temporary employee, not drawing a paycheck for 130 days. His time was coming up anyway, to where he could no longer have the authority that he had as leading the Doge team. Now, Trump and Elon have disagreements on the big, beautiful bill. That they've got legit disagreements there. Remember, Musk is the guy that went in there, and when they told him it was going to take weeks to shut down a server farm, he took a knife or a pair of scissors. He took sharpened items and just started cutting power wires. And he took that instead of weeks to take that server farm off the down. He had it down in a matter of an hour. Good morning, Ramen. I'm not hearing nothing. Okay, I'm hearing something.
Okay, I hope it's me.
You didn't get your new mic in, did you? Yep. So this could all be, some people put forth the idea that this whole thing is a scripted acting between Trump and Musk to get the Democrats to demand that the Epstein files be released to see Trump's name on them. That's what some people are putting out there as a thought. And honestly, I wouldn't put, nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me when coming to this. Now, would it surprise me to find out Trump's name is on the Epstein files list for having activities with underage children? Yes, that would surprise me immensely. That's the only thing about this whole mess that would actually surprise me, having anything legitimately tying him to that, especially after the public blowout that he and Epstein had. So there's that. So that is what I got to say about that. All right. It's just amazing how Musk is going from the most hated man by the Democrats' number one target in the country to now uh, he's beloved by them. It's amazing how that just swings back and forth. They loved him, then they hated him, and now they love him again. Next thing I wanted to bring up, this is just a short thing because I caught it just before coming live. Missoula, this is Montana, adopts pride flag as official city flag. Adoption this week of the new official city flag in Missoula means the rest of the state can display pride flags in public buildings despite a new law meant to restrict such displays. On a 9-2 vote Monday night, Missoula City Council passed a resolution to adopt the pride flag, as well as flags representing portions of the pride flag, as the official flag of the Garden City. See, last month, the governor banned the flying of the pride flag on any government building in the state of Montana. So the city council in Missoula, they went digging through the laws and found the law that said that city flags can be flown on city buildings anywhere within the state. So they made the pride flag their flag. So despite it being banned by the state legislature and the governor, it can still be flown. Montana, what is going on with you guys? What is going on with you? No clue. The Supreme Court had released three, one, two, three. First one, the justices reject Mexico's suit against the gun manufacturers. Mexico has been attempting to file lawsuit against the gun manufacturers, proclaiming that the gun manufacturers are responsible for the violence committed by the Mexican drug cartels. That, in a well-worn rebuttal statement, would be like holding Chevy and Ford responsible for drunk driving accidents. We don't hold car manufacturers responsible when somebody gets overindulges in adult beverages or gets stoned or high or whatever on their drug of choice and goes out and kills people in a car wreck. Or if they do it on purpose, even they intentionally hit somebody with their car. We don't hold the car manufacturers responsible. So that has always been confusing to me. How in the hell the judicial system has decided they're going to hold gun manufacturers responsible when people misuse firearms? But they've gotten away with it here in the United States. That school shooting that got Alex in so much trouble. Lost him his YouTube channel and everything, radio station and everything. Well, Mexico decided, because the parents decided they were going to get the manufacturers caved and paid them off because they lost a couple of rounds of courts. They didn't fight it all the way to the Supreme Court like they should have. So Mexico decided they were going to do the same thing. The justices held Mexico's efforts to hold gun manufacturers responsible for the violence committed by the drug cartels in U.S.-made weapons is barred by a federal law Congress passed in 2005 to shield the gun industry from lawsuits in U.S. courts for the misuse of guns by others. Now, this is Kagan writing this. Mexico's suit, Kagan wrote, closely resembles the ones Congress had in mind when it passed the law. It seeks to recover from American firearm manufacturers for the downstream damage Mexican cartel members wreak with their guns. Mexico itself has very stringent gun laws, making it virtually impossible for the cartels to obtain guns legally there. The country has just one gun store and it issues fewer than 50 gun permits each year. Pay attention to this, lefties. Despite its efforts to strictly regulate guns, however, Mexico ranks third in the world of the number of gun-related deaths. And in particular, the Mexican government says as many as 70 to 90% of the guns that police recover at crime scenes in that country were trafficked into Mexico from the United States. Mexico, it sounds like you got a border problem. See, we're resolving our border problem with fentanyl being brought in from Mexico, killing people in this country. Sounds like you need to be enacting some border security and cracking down on people who are smuggling firearms into your country. That's not our problem. That's yours. As you have said with the fentanyl and other drugs being brought into this country through Mexico by your drug cartel members. See, if you got rid of your drug cartel members, that'd solve both countries' problems, a lot of our problems. You wouldn't have so many gun-related deaths because you wouldn't have drug cartels. killing each other over this, and we wouldn't have as many illegal drugs being imported into our country. Now, in Mexico, you like to claim that the United States is at fault for its own drug problem because if it wasn't for American citizens buying the drugs, nobody would import them, smuggle them into the country. Well, let's turn that statement on its head. If it wasn't for the cartels buying, smuggling drugs or guns in, you wouldn't have a gun problem. You wouldn't have a gun deaths problem. You don't have a gun problem because the problem, I mean, guns aren't a problem in and of itself. It's the people who use them. So Mexico, get your act together. Put in a little border security like we have. In 2021, the Mexican government filed lawsuits in Massachusetts federal court against 7 major gun manufacturers and 1 gun wholesaler, contending the gun makers' designs and market their guns as military-style weapons, knowing that doing so makes them more attractive to drug cartels in Mexico. That makes them more attractive to everybody. Now, I personally, I, I don't have an AR-style platform firearm. I don't have an AK platform firearm. Right now, I've got 2 rifles, and they're both 22s. All right. I've got some handguns, but they're not a military style. They're just straight off the shelf handguns that you either could have because some of the guns, the manufacturers no longer exist, or they're current manufacturers like my Glocks. So you, Mexico, take care of your border. Take care of your borders. That would resolve the problem. Take care of your drug cartels. That would resolve a lot of your problems. A lot of problems on our side. The United States has offered many times, at least twice under the Trump administration, to assist you with going after the drug cartels, but you've turned down our help because you don't want Americans to help you take care of the drug cartels in Mexico. So that's your problem, Mexico. All right. The next decision that come down. Now, I don't like the way this headline is. Supreme Court rules for straight woman who claims she was subjected to reverse discrimination. No, there's no such thing as reverse discrimination. Either you're discriminated against or you're not. That's first thing. There's no such thing as reverse discrimination. Because that implies that discrimination only happens one way. Either you can be discriminated against or you can't be discriminated against. Either discrimination happened or it didn't happen. There's no such thing as reverse discrimination. And as you can tell, this just come down yesterday. The Supreme Court on Thursday sent the case of an Ohio woman who contends that she was a victim of discrimination back to the lower courts in a unanimous decision by Kenji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court justice who couldn't define what a woman is during her confirmation hearings. She said she wasn't a biologist, therefore she couldn't define what a woman was. The justices agreed that a federal appeals court in Cincinnati was wrong to impose a higher bar not an equal bar, a higher bar. For a case brought by Marlene Ames to forward than if Ames had been a member of a minority group. Ames had worked for the Ohio Department of Youth Services for 15 years, starting as executive secretary in 2004, eventually becoming a programming administrator. In 2018, her performance evaluation, Ames's new supervisor, who is gay, indicated that Ames had not met expectations in 10 categories and exceeded them in the 11th. Wow. For 14 years, she at least met expectations. And all of a sudden, she gets a new gay supervisor in, and boom, she falls down in 10 out of the 11 categories. That sounds more like a supervisor problem than an employee problem. The dispute began in 2019 when Ames applied for a new position within the department. Not only did she not get that job, but she was demoted to a previous position where her hourly salary was just over half of what she'd been previously making. Ames filed a lawsuit in federal court alleging that she had been a victim of employment discrimination based on her sexual orientation. The department had hired a lesbian for the position that she had sought, she contended, as well as a gay man to replace her after she was demoted. Interesting. So the gay supervisor demotes her, hires a lesbian to take the promotion that she was looking for, and a gay man to take the job that she had. That stinks on the very, you know, just just by looking at it, that stinks. Sixth Circuit throughout Ames's sexual orientation claim because Ames is straight. The Court of Appeals explained her claim could not go forward unless she could show background circumstances to support her allegations of reverse discrimination. For example, that a member of a minority group made the alleged discriminating decision. Well, it was a gay man made the decision, or showing a pattern of discrimination against members of a majority group. But in this in this case, the Court of Appeals emphasized that department officials, which actually made the hiring and demotion decisions, were straight, and thus there was no pattern of reverse discrimination. But she'd gotten a new gay supervisor in who all of a sudden she couldn't meet standards for. And remember, DEI was in full work. DEI, got to hire the blacks, got to hire the women's, got to hire the gays, got to hire the lesbians, got to hire the non-English speakers. If you're a straight white, particularly male, Christian, it was perfectly legal to discriminate against you because you were in the majority. In the 9-page decision on Thursday, the court revived Ames's claim and sent the case back to the lower court for another look under the proper standard. Federal employment discrimination law, Jackson explained, prohibits intentional discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The Supreme Court has outlined 3-step tests for discrimination. At the first step, the one at issue in Ames's case, a plaintiff must produce enough evidence to support an inference that the employer intended to discriminate. The plaintiff may satisfy it by simply presenting evidence that he or she applied for a job, But the Court of Appeals in this case, Jackson continued, incorrectly added an additional requirement directing aims to establish a background circumstances to support the suspicion that the defendant, because the unusual employer who discriminates against, because it is that the defendant is that unusual employer who discriminates against the majority. Under DEI, that's not unusual. Under DEI, that was not unusual at all. The Sixth Circuit's rule is then consistent with the text of the employment discrimination law, which bars discrimination against everyone without distinguishing between members of minority and majority groups. So yada yada yada. By the way, I get a lot of this through SCOTUS blog. That's the website I'm using now. And then they usually give a link to the actual decisions themselves if I want to follow up on them. So I do recommend SCOTUS blog. Clarence Thomas filed a concurring opinion joined by Justices Gorsuch. Thomas suggested that the three-step test that the court had developed for use in discrimination claims, known as the McDonnell-Douglas framework, lacks any basis in text of federal employment discrimination law and has proved difficult for courts to apply in a case where the parties ask us to do so. He concluded he'd be willing to consider overruling it. So, yeah. This ruling alone should be enough to kill DEI throughout the entire country. Because there's going to be a heck of a lot more lawsuits being brought by straight white conservative men and women, particularly if they're Christians, against employers for discrimination. Even in hiring discrimination, when they announce boldly that they're looking to only hire minorities, they're looking only to hire women, then that is going, right there is, go and apply for the job. When you don't get hired, file a discrimination lawsuit. Who knows? You may just get money to shut up and go away. That may be a whole new revenue income stream until these companies get it through their heads that they can't be discriminating against people just because they're white and straight. White male Christians, man, y'all, that's the most discriminated group in the country because you've got no legal protections. Well, you had no legal protections until now. All right, I can close that tab, and I can close that tab. And the last court, and this one here, this decision, this is, like I said, it was 3 decisions. This one here, it's very narrow. The Supreme Court sides with Catholic social ministry over tax exemptions. Supreme Court ruled Thursday that Wisconsin violated the Constitution when it refused to give a Catholic social ministry group the same exemptions from state unemployment tax that it gives to churches, religious schools, and other religious groups. In a unanimous decision by Sotomayor, the justices agreed that Catholic social ministry group that the denial of the exemption constituted religious discrimination. So I the dispute began a decade ago when Catholic Charities Bureau for the for the Diocese of Superior in northwestern part of Wisconsin sought an exemption from having to pay the state's unemployment tax for its employees. Because the group conducts its charity work to put Catholic principles into operation, it contended fell within a provision of tax law that carves out definition of employment for anyone who works for an organization operated primarily for religious purposes. State Labor Commission rejected the group's bid for exemption, concluding that even if its religious motivations were religious, the charity work itself was secular. Well, it wound its way through the court system there, and uh, they lost at every place until it got to the Supreme Court. Catholic Charities then appealed to the Supreme Court, which on Thursday reversed a law that differentiates between religions along theological lines. It's textbook denominational discrimination. So, um, this is the ruling now, and there's going to be people out there who are going to be who they're going to see this ruling and they're going to get upset. But when when the Satanic Church, the Church of Satan, starts asking for these kind of exemptions, and the states have to approve them, that's going to make the news, and you'll have people out there protesting it. But I mean, it's like I've said before, I mean, I've never hidden the fact that I'm a Christian. I've never hidden that fact. But I've often said that my religious beliefs do not belong in controlling politics, because I may not like your religious beliefs that are in there controlling politics. We've already got issues in this country where majority Muslim cities like Dearborn, Michigan, and other places actively run out Christians and discriminate against Christians. And this is something that, I mean, I really wish would be people would file lawsuits on and get in there and get it taken care of. But we need to keep it, and it's not because I don't want to see this country, I mean, this country was founded on Judeo-Christian beliefs. Like it or not, that's the fact. And I've read somewhere, I wish I could remember where it was I read it, that one of the founding fathers, and so I'm going to be so loosely paraphrasing this, it's not even funny. But one of the founders or early people in the government said that our country will remain strong as long as it is a Christian country, or words to that effect. That the governments and everything, that the Constitution itself will work as long as the country is Judeo Christian in its beliefs. But that is what it is. All right. I think I've got one more thing here. All right. We're done with the politics portion. All right. It took me about a half hour to get through this stuff that I normally wouldn't cover, but it's all stuff that's happened in the past 24 hours that by Monday wouldn't be worthwhile talking about most likely. So, and I oh Ramen, why didn't it beep when I'm sorry, Ramen, it didn't beep when you popped in. How long you been down there, Ramen? I'm not hearing you. Nope, you're not coming through. No, you're still not coming through. And I don't have you muted. I'm hearing a little bump every now and again, but I'm not hearing you talk. Are you sure you got everything plugged in? Nothing's working there. Oh, now, so I've got a question here for you guys. Anybody that may still be here that I haven't run off. How many of y'all actually watch where you're walking? Pay attention to your surroundings. Oh, I just heard sound like a moan. Are you laying in bed, Ramen? Did you fall asleep on your mic? That's gotta be what it is you're falling asleep on your mic. That's what I just heard. Are you moaning, my Ramen? Seriously, are you okay? All right. Claustrophobic moment when a woman got stuck in a narrow gap between two buildings. A California woman was left screaming in terror after becoming wedged in a 20-inch gap between two buildings. She found 15 feet off the ground and she's jammed in tight between two buildings, folks. There she is. The narrow space made it difficult for firefighters to rescue her using a ladder, so they implemented a rope system to lower her to safety. She was afraid to move. The only safe way to get her down was attaching a rope rescue system to her. How, in the ever-loving mind, could you do this? How could you step into and fall into a 20-inch gap? And look what they had to do to rescue her. They have to shut down the road, bring over a ladder, lower down between the rope down between the two buildings to rescue the woman. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, she was lucky she did manage to fall where she could get her feet on them beams, on that last beam there. Because it doesn't look like there's anything else between her and the ground. That was the last stop that she had. So that got me thinking. Okay, I mean, to me, that's pretty stupid to fall into a 20-inch gap. I mean, that's almost like you did it on purpose. Then I went looking. Here's this woman stuck between two buildings. This is that same woman. She's jammed in there, tired a drum between two buildings. Or no, that's another woman. I'm sorry. Two different women. So that's three women now that have been caught between buildings. I don't get it. I just don't get it. How do you fall into a hole, a gap between two buildings that small? That doesn't make sense to me. How that happens. Then I saw this picture. Why would you do something like this? I don't get it. Why would anybody willingly do something like this? Just for a photograph. I mean, you better trust. You are literally trusting that other person with your life. Because at this point, all they got to do is let go and say, oops, my hand slipped. Or she let go. You're going to be dead. So there's no one to dispute it. Falling from that distance, you're going to be a blot on the ground. That's all you're going to be. I was watching watched the Ant-Man movie this weekend, the first Ant-Man movie, and there's the two scenes where the bad guy in the movie attempted to miniaturize a lamb, and it was just a blob. And then he went in to talk. He went and talked to some guy in the bathroom, and used it on him, and just took a paper towel, wiped him up off the floor, and flushed him down the toilet. He was just a little blob. Well, that's what you'd be fall from that distance. You'd just be a blob. But then that picture led me to this picture. This woman's using a selfie stick. Now, I could say something rather inappropriate about this photograph. Raman, you are not sounding good coming across there. It sounds almost like you're laying in bed moaning in pain or snoring. Why? Why would you do this? First of all, how did she get up there? And second of all, look at what she's standing on. Her feet overhang that thing. Half of each foot overhangs it. And if it falls, it looks like the point of that building is going to become one humongous artificial pleasure aid. If either one of them feet slip to the side. Now, this next photo, I won't be honest, I think this photo is fake. I think this is a fake photo. I truly do. All right. This there's no way in hell that this plane is flying at speed and he's got that much of his body outside of the cabin sticking out into the airstream like that, and it's just lightly lifting his hair like that, and it hasn't whipped them sunglasses right off his face. And there's no way he's holding his selfie stick out there to get this photograph. Have you ever, I know you have, stuck your hand out the window of your car as you're driving down the road? Even doing 35, 40 mile an hour. And this plane's flying at 300 miles an hour. Yeah, so it is my absolute gut instinct that this photograph is faked. But it's out there. There's another one out there of a different guy. Slightly different from this photograph, but a different person. But there's no way that this photograph is real. There's just absolutely no way whatsoever. But this one is real. And this one is real. This one here is also real. Now, this would be one if you look close, and I will see if I can what I can do here to make it to where you can see it. Excuse me. She is standing on something clear here. Heavy duty, thick plexiglass or something like that. That's designed to hold weight. Now, unless they've photoshopped, and again, this is my gut instinct, that they've photoshopped out the railings. Because I cannot see any building of that height having that out there for someone to stand on without railings to prevent them from going over the edge. Now you can see this bar right here. Now maybe she's on top of someplace, she's up someplace where she's not supposed to be. There's that possibility too. But you'd still think that they would have handrails up there to prevent someone from going over. But that's there's no way. Raman, are you back yet? You still trying to get your mic working?
Yeah.
Oh, I almost heard words.
Oh my God.
Okay, you absolutely horrible, man. You are that is
No.
that sounds absolutely terrible.
Oh no.
It it sounds demonic. Sounds like what you'd hear for a out of a movie for a demon.
Oh no.
First of all,
Just like my
serious question here.
ex-husband.
Serious
Yes.
question here. Are
Yes.
you okay? Are you physically okay?
No. I'm getting better. I wasn't so great a little while ago, but I'm a lot better. Why? What happened?
No, it's
Do
just
I
the way
sound sick?
it's just the way you sound and the moans we were hearing earlier. It sounded
I
like you were
wasn't moaning.
well, it sounded like you were moaning in serious pain.
It's funny because I was in pain, but I wasn't making any noise.
Okay, well
I really hurt my back.
your this mic is not doing you any good today.
Oh, maybe it's
It,
better than we thought. It's picking up my inner anguish. Oh my God.
in fact, it's worse than what it was yesterday.
Oh no.
Yes, it's worse than it
I
was yesterday.
I think I'm gonna have to make some sacrifices and get a mic off Amazon again. But there's nothing physically wrong with the other mic that I had on the computer. It just doesn't work. Physically, it's fine. I don't know if you can understand how reluctant I am to get a mic when there's nothing wrong with the previous one. It's just to me.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can barely understand you. You sound like you're talking out of the depths of hell.
I kind of feel like that's what I am right now. Oh no.
Okay. So I've never done this before, but I'm going to have to mute you because it just
You know what?
it,
You do what you gotta
you
do.
you just sound that's how bad this mic is.
Okay, if you're feeling compelled to do that, I'm gonna overnight a mic from him. Figure out
Uh,
how to do it.
yeah, I'm going to
Damn
have
it,
to
man.
because it's absolutely horrible.
Alright.
Okay. Oh, all right. But like I was saying, Why somebody would insist on doing something like this is pure stupidity. I mean, it looks like her right foot here. It's, the only part of her foot that's not hanging over the edge is the ball of her foot up to the toes. Now, this foot may actually be on the glass all the way, or it may be hanging halfway over. But nah, there's no way. To me, this is asking to die. This is asking to die. One momentary lapse in your balance and you're shot. The last thing anybody's going to, last words anybody's going to hear yours is, ah, splat. Now, this headline here, again, if you'll notice here, what one thing in common with all these stories and all these photographs, all but the one photograph that I'm saying is faked. It's all women. California woman falls off. It says, okay, 730-foot bridge while taking selfie. She fell 60 feet. She didn't fall 730 feet. The top of the bridge may be 730 feet, but she only fell 60 foot. A U.S. woman survived falling off of one of America's tallest bridges while taking a selfie. Boy, oh my God, she fell off the top of the bridge all the way to, no, she fell 60 feet. She didn't fall no 730. I mean, 60 feet's nothing to sneeze at. I would not want to fall 60 feet. It would kill me. It'd shatter every bone in my body. My internal organs would be bleh. But she survived. She fell 60 feet onto a trail after losing her footing on an off limits catwalk. She stepped over a sign on a piece of cable saying off limits. She walked over that to get that selfie. She was knocked unconscious by the fall. No fake. Hurt her arm and will require surgery for bone fractures. Duh. If she's lucky, she only broke every bone in her legs. Police have warned visitors to stick to designated spots on the 730-foot tall bridge and canyon. You'll be cited and arrested if found in any closed location. Worse yet, you can lose your life, and none of that is worth a selfie. It's like here in Florida. You go out to the beach. You look up at the flags. They got flags all along the beach, red, yellow, and green. If the flag is green, it's safe to go in the water. If it's yellow, be careful going in that water. If it's red, stay out. If it's got two red flags, you will be arrested if they catch you in the water. And these damn stupid people still want to go into the water. No, Ramen, there's no way your words would be, well, that didn't work. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't doubt if it was for TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. They were taking pictures on the bridge, and the big bolts that hold the beams together, she stepped on them kind of weirdly, lost balance, and fell backwards. What did I say about that woman standing on that big piece of clear material? All you got to do is lose your balance. One step backwards, and your last words are going to be, ah! At least I know that'd be my last words. So, no. People, don't be stupid. Darwinism, okay? If you want to pass your genetic material on through your children and your grandchildren, don't become a victim of Darwinism. Use the good common sense the good Lord gave you. Don't do stupid stuff because you're foolish. It's, the the state doesn't like, the cities don't like putting up double red flags just to put them up because they know that keeps people, they see double red flags on the beach. That means the beaches are closed. The water is closed. Don't go in the water. And when people can't go in the water, a lot of them don't go to the beach, particularly if they have children. So that's lost money, lost revenue. So when they put that stuff out there, they're putting that out there to keep you from dying. Death. That thing from which there's no coming back from? You're a goner? You know, if there's enough of you to go into a coffin, that's where they put you. Ship your body home. Cancel the rest of your hotel stay. It never made good sense to me. What's this story here? Oh, I don't know how many of you remember the band Heart, one of the female bands back in the 70s and 80s. I think it was 70s. I didn't know they were still a thing. I thought that, as far as I knew, they were broken up, that they weren't doing nothing anymore, but they're still out there. Authorities have made an arrest in the theft of two irreplaceable instruments owned by members of the rock band Heart that were stolen from a venue in New Jersey last weekend. Atlantic City police say surveillance video initially led them to a 57-year-old Pleasantville man. He was later seen on the video walking through various parts of the city trying to sell the instruments. He sold one while the other remains unaccountable for. The man has been charged with burglary and theft. The band was set to kick off the Evening with Heart tour at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. This gear had been set up there the day prior to the show. Among the items stolen was a custom-built purple sparkle baritone Telecaster guitar with a hand-painted headstock made for band member Nancy Wilson, and a vintage 1966 Gibson EM50 mandolin that band member Paul Moak has played for over 25 years. This guy is he's in a lot of trouble. He is in a lot of trouble. Now, if you don't know who Heart is, you ought to know at least one of their songs. Barracuda being one of them. Now, I've already got a couple of strikes this past couple of weeks, so I'm not going to play any of the music. But that song is from 1977, the Little Queen album. The Little Queen album was one of their best albums. Y'all know I'm a country fan. I always have been. I will have to admit, Heart I've got a soft spot in my heart for the band Heart, for them two women, because they put out some really good music. Crazy on You. I mean, I can't think of, just saying it, man, I'm hearing the whole song in my brain. Magic Man. You know that those are three songs right there. Um, they had another song, "Heartless," from their magazine album. That was pretty good. So yeah, that I mean, I feel for them two young ladies and the band members that had their instruments stolen. Particularly, I mean, this group's been playing what? Let's say, let's use 1980. I mean, yeah, they have albums in the 70s too, but so that's 20, 45 years. These two women, at least, they've been playing for 50 years. Between 40 to 50 years, these two women have been out there turning out music. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They got put in there 2 years ago in 2023. I hope they get all their instruments back. They do deserve to get their instruments back. So okay, let's see here. I only got two more things here because I was really counting on Ramen having her mic up and running today, and her doing some serious talking. You always got to count on a woman to talk. When you need them to talk, they can't. Right, Ramen?
Yeah, yeah, you got that right. You can't be wrong. You're a man.
I,
Oh
I,
God.
every now and again, I actually depend on a woman to do something, and it should be easy when I want her to talk. But
What if they me? It's one of my kids. My daughter's now walking around the house going doo 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 doo. Man, who does her little voice? I'm like, oh God, she loves that freaking song.
oh, the Barracuda
It
song.
was,
Yep.
yeah, it was in Shrek though. I think so. I think so.
Well, I hope you get your new mic in soon.
Well, if I place an overnight order, I should have it tomorrow, hopefully, even though I have no streams tomorrow. So there's that. But I'll be ready for
I, I,
Monday.
I will try to keep an eye on my um, DMs I normally don't on weekends, but I'll try to keep an eye on my DMs when you get your
Ah,
break.
thank you.
Right. Okay. All right.
Alright.
So the last thing here I had in mind to talk about, and
Yes.
to soften up my appearance on, because I've been pretty hard on Mexicans, particularly, those have been coming. Mexico as a government, the Mexican government and Mexicans, the illegals.
That's
But to show
fair.
that I understand that not all Mexicans are like the illegals that flooded our border, a 30-year-old super commuted from Mexico City once a week to attend law school in New York City.
Wow.
In 2024,
See,
Jackson Dill was in her last year of law school and subletting a one-bedroom apartment in New York City with her husband. The two were paying $2,700 a month rent. They also spent another $1,200 a month on expenses like groceries and transportation. So they're spending 4 grand a month
uh-huh.
for her to attend school in New York City. As Sedelia, age 30, near graduation, her schedule became more flexible. While registering for classes her final semester, she realized she could take one class remotely, then schedule the rest on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Wow.
She started thinking, if I barely need to be on campus, why should I be spending so much money living in New York? We have a flying perk, so there's something we could do with that and avoid the New York City part.
Right.
Her husband her husband works in the airline industry, so the couple has the advantage of paying less for flights when flying standby.
Mm.
They're both Mexican cities, and her sister had an apartment in Mexico City. They're both Mexican citizens, and her sister had an apartment in Mexico City that was sitting empty. So
Ah.
what they did was they flew standby on Sunday to New York out of Mexico City.
Okay.
Flew standby back Tuesday night after she completed her classes
Yeah.
and lived in Mexico City the rest of the week. On Sunday, they'd do it all over again.
Mm.
Their apartment in Mexico City was $735 a month and that includes
Wow.
utilities, Wi-Fi, water, gas, electricity, and an HOA fee.
Damn.
So right there was saving them 2 grand a month. Was saving them over 2 grand a month because I imagine the food was a lot cheaper there too. So I mean, the woman, I mean, she did it right. She would leave
Yep.
Mexico City, fly to New York, attend class, fly back to Mexico City. She does admit
Mm.
that since she was flying standby, she was lucky in that she never got bumped from a flight. There was always a seat on the plane that she could get on. While at home in Mexico City, she worked as needed basis as a law clerk, attended her online class, studied and completed her schoolwork, and made certain to spend plenty of time with friends and family. From January to
Uh,
May, she traveled back and forth 10 times. The last time was for her graduation. So she spent $800 a month on airline tickets. So I've got to give it to her. I appreciate remote learning. When okay, just like I appreciate remote working. If you can work remote and you are still turning a profit for your company, getting done what you are supposed to get done as part of your job, it saves you money in transportation costs. It saves the company money because that's one less uh, desk that they've got to buy things for. If a majority of the company can be working remote, that's money the company can save on office space. When I was working for an insurance company, I had to show up at the office on Monday mornings and Friday mornings. Those are the only 2 days of the week I had to show up in the office. All right. Um, After I got my license and was able to work on my own. Once I got my license, I was able to work on my own. Uh, it was go out, make your appointments. It was only if you weren't producing. If it got to the point, if stuff come up where you weren't producing, then they'd make you go in to show them that, hey, you're not, you got to make cold calls from here and set up appointments. And we may send a supervisor out with you to make certain that you're doing what you need to do to make sales. So, yeah, but I I've never seen a problem with people being able to work remote, attend class remote as long as everybody was being held to the same standards. If you can attend class remotely and get good grades, you're making the appointments, you're turning in your paperwork, you're turning everything in on time, you're getting and now I'd be that guy that say, okay, for testing, I want everybody to come into class for tests. I want you physically here for the test because that's the way I can control to make certain that no one's cheating. Ron, you sound like you're snoring now.
No, I really couldn't.
Oh,
It's allergy season. You know how that goes. We were just talking about allergies yesterday.
okay. All right, I got a video I want you guys to see.
Yay!
There we go. Okay.
Just a big kid.
Oh, I think you'll like this video. I know I like it.
Yay! Oh no, my delivery's here. Yay, we have food.
All right, here
Oh
we
god,
go.
my phone is on silent mode. What the hell?
Okay.
A kitty! Oh, you're so pretty! Oh, I like this guy.
I sat there and I played this video back like 10 times. before I finally, it's like, okay, that's it. It's I just sat there laughing and laughing and laughing at that.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Okay.
growing up at night and watching kids, so yeah, that really hit me.
Okay, now this woman here, here's a video from a woman saying something that, you know, I am so glad she's saying it because I've actually had seen something similar to this happen.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I don't know what she's saying. I hope she isn't talking about her boyfriend there. I would just be sad.
I went to Winn Dixie the other day, and
Oh no.
that this must have been that same woman there. I mean, she had that Kim Kardashian butt and
Ew.
a 10-year-old swimsuit bottoms.
Uh,
You know,
why do,
she
I
had
don't
her
get why people dress like that.
she had her overly enhanced breasts in enough material that may make a pocket square for my suit. And she's in Winn Dixie pushing a shopping cart.
Ma'am, you
And it's
forgot
like,
your clothes.
exactly.
They should make her buy. I know they sell T-shirts at some of these grocery stores, like Florida tourist T-shirts. They should make her wear one and buy it on the way out. Like, damn, you're
I'm sorry,
around
but
food looking like that.
they should have asked her to leave the store.
Uh,
I mean,
what the hell
stores
happened to
can
the
refuse
human race? Service, yeah.
stores can re- stores can
Oh
refuse
my god.
business. They can tell you
I,
you're inappropriately dressed.
I remember the signs: no shirt, no shoes, no service. Oh god. Well,
Yep, I
schools are
remember those
cracking
signs
down on it
too.
now too. You cannot be in pajamas to pick up your child. Oh my god. These women, they go to the pickup in friggin' full pajamas and curlers with a kerchief over it. And I'm like, nah, man, why?
My wife has them. Hey, sweetheart, my wife has them come in
It's
to
a
drop
show.
off kids, and they are in their pajamas and when they drop them off, and they got their bonnets on, they got their pajamas on, everything's swinging free underneath those pajamas.
Ew.
When they
You're a
come in to
grown
pick them up
person.
that when they come in to pick them up that afternoon, they haven't changed. They're still in their pajamas and still in their
Uh,
bonnets.
these are grown people. They know they gotta go somewhere.
So,
I'm just so disappointed in people as a people.
yep, absolutely. It's uh,
When I used to
when
pick up the kids, damn, I was always getting scared I'd get pulled over by the cops, so I made sure I had daytime clothes on at least. Damn. Can you imagine being in your pajamas and the cop is like, "Ma'am, do you know how fast you're going? Can you step out of the car for a moment, please?" And you're in your friggin' pajamas. No, man. They
I'd
judge
go
you
pick
too.
up, I'd go and pick up a prescription one day last week, and I told the wife I was going to go get them, and she goes, "Well," and she looked at me and she goes, "Aren't you changing clothes?" I said, "Well, no, I'm going through the drive-through. I'm not going inside. So,
Uh,
I'm going to keep my shorts on. I'm not going back and put on my
Nothing wrong
long
with
pants.
shorts.
I'm not going to go back and put on my long pants. I'm just going to keep my shorts on and my t-shirt. I'm not going to put a shirt on over it."
Alright.
And she's like, "Well, what if I want you? If you want anything from the store, then let's go, and you
Go
can
get
run
it.
into the store and get it."
Um,
I I plan on going through the drive-through to pick up my pain pills, and then I'm coming. As far as I'm concerned, I'm coming straight home. But
alright.
I made certain I'd get at least a mile under speed limit the whole way.
Uh,
Oh man, it's outrageous. Well, I've got nothing else for this morning.
okay.
So the only other thing I had on here was the solar flares that are acting up this. Not only do we have that big sandstorm coming in from the Sahara Desert,
Uh, yeah.
but we got the solar flares coming in, and there are actually people out there cheering, hoping that the solar flares take down Elon Musk's Starlink satellites.
It's not going to improve their lifestyle. I don't get it.
They're actually hoping that they take down the satellite systems.
Are they
Uh,
thinking that's the signal for the aliens to swoop in? I don't know. What are they
well,
getting from this?
there, we're just about done. We're just about done.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
Tell Mrs. Shroom hi for me.
Ramen says to tell you hi. So anyway, um, yeah, everybody, y'all go out there and have a good weekend. Ramen, you got any last words?
I am dying here. I just want to live through
Uh,
the weekend.
okay. Well, everybody have a good weekend. It's almost here. Rem-
Yay.
Remember, and don't go doing stupid stuff like standing on the edge of buildings, climbing tall buildings, and standing on the narrowest spot that you can find.
That is
Climb,
a friggin' social media thing for the photos. I don't get it. I'd be like, no, sir. You know,
don't
if I don't go up there, will take me to jail. It's solid ground there.
don't go ignoring
Uh,
safety signs saying "Do not cross."
do not
If they
stand
if
on
they got a
invisible
sign there
shit for a
saying
photo.
they got a sign there saying, do not, if they got a bar, a rope, a steel cable, and a sign beneath it saying, no entry, do not cross, stay away. There's a reason why they do that, folks. They want to keep you safe. They don't want you to die. They don't want the insurance claims or the lawsuits
Yeah, I
filed
was gonna say
against
they don't
you.
want to get sued. Yeah.
So, but as always, be with the ones you love the ones that you're with. Have a good day and enjoy your weekend. And hopefully, we'll all be back here on Monday. Bye,
Bye,
y'all.
y'all. See you Monday. Don't go to jail.